like 45 minutes. So how many of you have an iPad? Almost everyone. Okay. How many of you like art? We have perfect combination here, iPad and art. Okay. So what are we going to do today is we're going to see how we can use iPad to create artwork. Let me introduce you myself. I'm Sumit Vishwakarma. I am an iPad artist and animator. Professionally, I am an electronics engineer. So I build electronics chips which goes into iPad and all those stuff. But as a kid, I always wanted to draw art, but I was told that you cannot make a living out of it. It's tough over there. I was born in India. So I was told to become an engineer, and I became an engineer. But that passion to create art, to sketch, never went away, right? So I used to draw wherever I can. And then I bought my first iPhone in 2009, I guess. Yeah. And I started doodling in some of the apps, and I found it's pretty amazing. I said, wow, this is something neat. So I started putting together some stuff, and my friend said, why don't you start a website? I said, okay. So I started putting together my iPhone artwork into a blog. And then iPad came in 2011. So I bought my first iPad, and I was like, wow, this is something which I need. Bigger canvas space, right? And then I started drawing on my iPad, and I said, oh wow, that's really great. So since then, I've been drawing on my iPad exclusively using, my finger or stylus or, brush kind of stylus. And I've seen that this is turning out to be kind of a canvas future. So people are moving more and more to digital art just because, it's very easy to get started. And that's what we will see today, how to get started on creating iPad paintings. So let's just go back to a few of the things. I have a couple of things. So when I talk about iPad art today, you can take screenshot of your presentation. It's all public information. Just whenever you want, just go ahead and take picture or take notes. I personally started doing iPad art in 2011, and I came here last time in 2012 at iPad Sketch Station at Macworld. And since then, it's been a pretty good journey for me. I have been showing my work several places at Mobile Art Festival in Los Angeles. What they're doing is they are showing only mobile art. Then I had a winning entry at Macworld iPad Art Contest and several other places. So you can always visit my website to know more about me. My latest goal is to bring this medium to the masses, right? So that's why I'm here. So why an iPad for art, right? So let's look into some of the things which, first of all, it's portable, right? An iPad is a portable device. It's always with you. It can be in your bag. You can carry it anywhere when you're flying, anywhere. iPad is always with you, or your iPhone, or any smart device, right? There are several professional apps which can let you create professional quality work. You can sell that work. I have sold several iPad paintings, and that's the quality of work you can create from iPad. The best part, people ask me, why you want to promote iPad art, right? So digital art has been there for a very long time. You see, pamphlets, you see, some websites have all digital artwork, but why is iPad art different? First of all, for other professional tablets which are used for creating digital artwork, you need to have it plugged into a computer. Okay? So you cannot carry it with you. Number two, they are very expensive, right? They are very expensive. If you go buy a tablet from Viacom, or they're like 1500, something like that. And the softwares they use are like $1,000, like Photoshop and several other brothers and sisters of Photoshop. I have no idea what those softwares do. What I know, what these $5 apps can do for you, right? So you can get started with iPad because you all have iPad, and what you can do is instead of buying Starbucks, go buy art app. So it's very easy to start working on iPad. So that's one reason. However, there are a few limitations we all should know. First of all, and the most important, is pressure sensitivity. iPad does not understand pressure, and I will show you that in the live demo why this is a limitation, right? Because being an artist, if you dip your brush in the paint and you try to paint with the pressure, you get more paint on the canvas, right? But with iPad, that's not the case, right? So we have ways to work around. The second thing is resolution. With iPad Retina display, I think that's kind of no longer an issue. So you can have high resolution stuff created on iPad. Okay. What are the art apps? So now let me switch gear to a different presentation. And this is using Prezi. So if Prezi is an app, and you can make a note of it, Prezi is an app which is used for presentation. So if you want to make a presentation, you can use Prezi. It's P-R-E-Z-I. So I made this presentation on Prezi. So what do you need to create art on iPad? You need an iPad or any tablet. So when I say any tablet, so you are not just restricted to iPad, you can have any Android tablet, or you can have now Windows Surface, right? So you can use that. However, there are more number of apps available on the app ecosystem than any other ecosystem, right? So Android have few, but there are more number of apps on iPad. So we'll see which apps. Now the most important slide where you can take a picture of this slide are the art apps, right? So these are the art apps I use. Brushes was the very first one, and Sketchbook, which is from a company called Autodesk, very popular company. The second one is Art Rig. You will see this in the demo today. And then Procreate, which is a very fast app. And there are a few others. So let's get going, and I think now's the time I can talk about some of the basics of digital art, but we can do this when I do the live demo, okay? So the very first app we will look at is called Art Rig. So the icon looks something like this over here. This app is called Art Rig. The good thing about this app is this is one of the best apps to create artwork which can be really close to the traditional medium, okay? So let's see how. So I go back to my gallery and I start a new painting, okay? So once I start a new painting, what I can do is over here you can see there are several tools, right? So let's pick a, so you see these are several tools. So over here, I pick a tube. Just like you have a tube, like a colored tube in your traditional medium. And then let's try to create something. So let's create a heart. And then you try to mix it with another color, maybe something yellow. And now I use a palette knife, okay? So the palette knife is just like the knife you use in your traditional medium. And when I try to blend it, you can see the effect. So you increase the size here. And you can see how nicely it blends, just like you're blending the real color in real canvas. See that? So that's the beauty of this app, right? So it can give you very realistic looking effect. And the app also understands where there is more quantity of color, right, on the canvas. So you can see on the top over here, there's more color lying here. So what I can use the palette knife and I can spread this color, wherever I want. So very nicely written algorithm to create very realistic looking paintings, right? So this also has brushes like oil brush. So this is oil brush. It has eraser. So let's go ahead and erase. So you can erase whatever you did. So the best part is there's no mess. You can just go ahead and erase. You don't have to waste another sheet of paper. So we are environment friendly there. Okay. So use this brush. So you don't need to be an expert to know what this brush do, right? Each of these brush. Each brush has separate features. So for example, I take a blue color. Let me increase the size. So this is size. This is pressure, right? Because iPad is pressure insensitive. So you can control the pressure with the app. Okay. So what's the difference? So suppose I have a brush, right? And then I increase the pressure, right? So I increase the pressure. So the more the pressure, the thicker would be the stroke, right? Less the pressure, the finer would be the stroke, right? So this is how you control the pressure. You can always mix colors. So I can go ahead and mix colors. Then they have the feature called thinner. Thinner is like adding water to your color. Okay? So for example, if I have no thinner, I have a pretty hard brush, right? Or pretty thick color. When I say I want more thinner, it dilutes my stroke. You see that? There's more water in it now. So very realistic, right? You can increase the water, decrease the water. You can increase the loading. Now what is loading? So loading is how much color you want to load in your brush, right? If your brush is loaded with a lot of color, you can have a long line when you do a stroke. So for example, let's see a thick loading. So I pick a brush and I draw a line, it keeps drawing, because there's a lot of paint available in my brush. But if I decrease the loading, what's going to happen is when I draw, it will run out of color. You see that? So it gives you real effect. I'm running out of color. That's what you want, right? When you want to simulate a traditional painting, right? So these are the things which are available in this app. It gives you very close to the real world paintings, right? Now let's look into something different here, which is, this was mostly oil paint, right? Now if I go back, I can choose a canvas and I can convert it into a watercolor canvas, okay? So I can go here and take a watercolor, okay? So I pick a watercolor canvas. Now I can use a watercolor brush. So the second brush over here is a watercolor brush. With this brush, I can have several settings. Actually, with any brush, you can have several settings. So you don't need to be an expert. So for example, if you are here, right, you have these many brushes available for you. Each brush gives you different setting of pressure, loading, size, right? So going back to the watercolor, let's pick a heavy bleed color. And then let's increase the size and the pressure. So here you can see how does the color look like, right? So I pick a color, and then let's draw a tree, for example. Let's go back. I have to increase the roughness of the canvas. So I take a new painting. So I have to increase the roughness if I want the color to bleed. So I'm increasing the roughness. Again, going back to the watercolor. So now when there's roughness in the canvas, I pick the same pressure sensitivity. Now I draw something here. Right? Now when I paint a color next to it, you will see how this will bleed to this color. Okay? You see that? The bleeding effect? Just like it's like a watercolor, right? So you can keep drawing something on top. So this is how you can simulate a watercolor effect. Question, please.
Do any of these programs allow you where if I were painting with watercolor and I picked up my canvas because I want the paint to bleed downward, can you pick up the iPad and let something simulate that bleeding downward?
That's a very, very, I would say, tricky question. This app does not allow you to do that, but there is an app for it. Can you believe it? It's called Merit Print.
If I can think of it, somebody had to have come up with it.
Exactly. So there's an app called Merit Paint. Let me show you if it is available here right now. I'm going off track for you, but let me find that for you. It's over here. This app, so in this app, you can change the, so let's pick a new canvas, for example, black, and then you can pick a brush. So here, there's classic. So let's go ahead and pick something more funny, like this one, right? So in this app, I do this, and when I leave it, you see the color is going down there, right? So let's see, let's increase the size. That's better. Let's increase the thickness, okay. So you go here, and you leave it. You see? So this kind of, there are apps which can do, you can change it to maybe the classic. So you see in a different color. So
Yeah, can you say the name again?
yes, I'll. Just, I need a better, brighter color. You see this effect?
Oh, wow.
You see that?
That's good.
So the algorithm is written in such a way that it follows the next pixel and extrapolate it to give you the next color. Okay? This app is called MERITUM, Meritium Paint. Okay? Now going back to our presentation. So Artrage gives you very realistic color. The next thing to know about is if you are painting in a digital medium, you can take advantage of layers. How many of you here understand what is a layer? Oh wow, quite a few. Very good. So layer is something which allows you to put things one on top of each other, and then you can have a final product. So that is something you can use in every app. Every nice art app will have the capability of doing layering. So how do you start a painting? You do a basic sketch. So I start with a basic sketch. This is a sketch of a Golden Gate Bridge painting. Okay? So I start with the very first layer, and I do a basic sketch in this layer, and then I pick the brush and say, let me start painting. So I start a new layer. And I paint the mountains. And then I say, let me put the water and the sky in another layer. So I paint another layer. Now you can see it completely changes the perception, right, of the painting. And then, if I want to add the bridge, I will add it in a separate layer, right? So how this helps? This helps because, if I'm painting the bridge, so I pick a color here, right? So whatever I definitely would want to do is, okay, let's pick maybe this one. More pressure, size. So suppose I say this, and then actually it's maybe better, which sucks. And then you know what? I picked the wrong layer. That's why it's happening. The layer is underneath. So so the good thing is you can always undo, right? Whatever you did. That's a lifesaver. So I go to the right layer here, and now I pick this, and I say, okay. So I'm drawing the bridge here. Okay, I'm drawing the bridge here. And oops. Yeah. Right. So what happens if my 3-year-old son ends up when I'm drawing? He says, I want to do it, Dad. Let me draw the bridge for you. Papa, Dad. That's a nice looking bridge.
Undo it.
What do I do now? Right? So I can say I can undo, right? But if I have saved, or he has saved the painting, then I'm done with this painting, right? But what I do is, since I did it in a separate layer, I can always turn it off. there I go. I still have all my work left with me at different layers, which is untouched, right? So that's the beauty of layers. Now, how can layer help you to expedite your painting process? That is something I researched, and I found out that iPad can really help you, create paintings really faster. So with that, let's switch to another app, which is called Procreate. Okay? The next app we'll talk about is Procreate. I really love this app. This app is really fast because the algorithm is based on what they call it. There's a microprocessor which is based only for graphics. So they use that technique. But let's not go into the technology. Let's stick with art. So this app is called Procreate, and here is this app. This icon over here is Procreate. So it takes a bit of time to load up. So I'll just give you an overview of this app. So you open up a new canvas. So for example, let's open this one. Right. This app gives you a lot of brushes, ready-made brushes to do several things you want to do, right? So you click over here and you see these are different kind of brushes. Painting brushes, airbrush, texture brush. So you can have several kind of textures, right? There are several brushes like elemental brush, right? So for example, I want to make a cloud. So suppose let's do something very simple. So first go back to like a paintbrush or airbrush. This increases the size of the brush, and this changes the opacity. So I make everything a blue. Okay, I'm just showing you the capability of different brushes, and then I go to elemental brush and I say, okay, I want to create a cloud. So I click the cloud brush and I pick the color to be white. Okay, now what I can do is I can change the size and I can create clouds. Let's change the opacity.
Can you create your own pattern?
You can create your own brush.
Yeah, your own pattern?
Yes, yes, you can. So then there are brushes like you want to have rain, you can have something dark or something, whatever, right? So there are so many brushes to do stuff which you can do without putting a lot of effort. You can also create your own brush. So if I go to any brush, I can click here and then I can load a source, this is the source. So I can load a source and a grain and I get my own brush. But the nice part of this app is how you can use layers. So we were talking about layers. So let's look into an example. This one. Space. Okay, so what is this? A pear, right? So how many of you know about still life painting? So still life painting is something which is not moving, right? Like mostly painting of fruits, vegetables, grapes, bottle, whatever, right? Several artists spend their life creating still life paintings, right? And it needs a lot of time and energy to have realistic looking work. So here, let's try to see how we can do it on an iPad and how we can save time doing these kind of paintings. So here, I do a basic sketch of a pear first in one layer, okay? Then what I do, I spend some time doing some shading. So I have a light source on one side, on the left-hand side, and I say, okay, let me do some shading, and I spend some time getting this shade into one pear. Okay? Now what I do is, I say, you know what? Let me duplicate the layer. So I duplicate the layer, it gives me another layer, right? What I can do is I go here, and then I can create another pear. I can get a baby pear or a mama pear, whatever you want. I can get a sleeping pear or where. So you can do several, right? So once you have a pair, what you can do is you can create multiple instances of the same pair, right? That's what I'm doing here, right? And you can change the positions. So for example, here, let me just delete this one because I already have it. So I have another pair, and then I added another pair. And now I have 3 pairs lying at different angles. Then I create some shade, and then I change the background to be something dark, so like black. And then I add some texture, and here you have a still life painting of a pair, right? How much time would you spend?
Do those layers
15
have
minutes.
blending modes?
Question?
Are there any blending modes with those layers?
Painting modes?
No, blending.
Oh yes, there are blending modes. So if you go to this layer, I think there's an option for merging. So if you are here, you can see multiply, linear burn, color. And this apps give you even more than that. So with, you see all these?
Yep.
Yep. Pretty advanced. I mean, these kind of effects you will see in Photoshop. Right? So that's the beauty of layers. So always work with layers. Question.
Does this program accept, can you import TIFF files or anything like that and then work on them?
Yes. So you can export it out as a PSD format. So you can open it up in Photoshop then. It also has, so here, if you go here in the settings, oh, you can import, yes, you can import an image. You can import, so for example, but it is only possible through Dropbox. So for example, if I go, I say Canvas, and I go to Insert Image from Dropbox, right? So it opens up the Dropbox, and then you can go back, and I can import images which I have saved in any format, and then it will open up it over here, okay?
Will it, if it's a composite file in Photoshop, will it bring in the layers?
Yes, it brings in the layer.
Okay.
That's a good thing.
And it exports the layers too?
It exports the layer, yeah. But the thing is, the size of the file is really big, right?
Okay.
Yeah. So with that, let's look into some other stuff. So there are other apps we can look into. There are some nice apps which are not very fancy, but very simplistic app. One app which I really like is called ZenBrush. ZenBrush, what it does is, let me just write this. It's a very simplistic app. Just use, so you increase the size of the brush, like this over here, so like this, and then this. What this app does, it tries to simulate the pressure sensitivity by the speed of the hand. So for example, I'm drawing slowly over here. You have to look into my hand here. So I'm drawing slow, right? And now I'm drawing fast. You see the difference? So it's trying to simulate the pressure sensitivity by the speed of the hand, right? So like, but I like this app because it's very simple. You can just draw whatever you want. This guy, very simple. And then it's solved, right? So similarly, you have other apps. There are vector apps, but we won't look into much of the apps here. The other thing which I want to talk about is there are some apps which can let you record your strokes, okay? Just to let you know that you can export your painting as a video, right? You can export it as a video and show it to people step by step or stroke by stroke, right? So let's look into some of the painting which I try to record, and this is done in an app called Sketch Club. So through YouTube here. Try to create this one. So this can be done using the app called Sketch Club. It lets you record these strokes. As well as in Artrage, you can turn on the script, which also starts recording, but you can only play back in a MacBook. Okay? So with that, I will show you some of the artwork created on iPad. And some by me, and there are several other people who are using iPad to create artwork. There's one of my friends, her name is Victoria. Veronica, she makes really awesome paintings on iPad. So I don't know if it's going to show up over here. Let me see. It should take a second. Okay, yeah, here. So, paintings like, show you this, let's go here. Let me show you some of the nice work she did, like the one over here. So this painting is done on iPad, right? Let's see. This one over here. Right, and here you can see the hair. This is just a brush stroke, right? Where you can create your own brush, right? So there are several other paintings you can do, several Flickr group. I'll show you one of my painting which was selected for the Mobile Art Festival and which is also displayed here at the Macworld Digital Art Gallery. That's this one over here. So this painting over here, so this is the painting which is displayed here in the Digital Art Gallery. If you go straight all the way in the aisle, you'll see this. Now the beauty of this painting is, it took me a lot of time to do the background, but for the foreground, again, I used the layers. So I did the light bulbs on one end, and then I copied the layer, flip it, and put it on the other side. Right? And the couple goes into a different layer. So, you don't have to spend too much time doing this thing. Okay? There's one painting. This one was the winning entry at the Macworld iPad Art Contest. And this took me a lot of time. This painting took me around 20 hours to do this one. Because you look at his hand, they are hexagonal shape, which I couldn't find any kind of brush in this kind of, in any of the app. So this is done in Procreate, and I'll show you how I did it. It's, just the process of how you can do this kind of painting. I think it's over here, yeah, this one. You start with the base layer. Then you have a skin tone and some shades. So let's talk about what is, so if you look into my topic of today's presentation, it's called iPad Art, the next step. So what is the next step? This was the first step. What's the next step, right? So the next step is, look up here, is this. There are several art apps in the industry today, right? There's several art apps which is on the left-hand side you have. On the right-hand side, you see there are several photo apps, which has some really neat filters in these apps, right? So what you can do is you can do a combination of art and photo apps, right? And this can give you some really amazing kind of art, right? Which you cannot just get by painting, right? So for example, I mean, I just show you a small example. So this painting done in ZenBrush, you know, just a few strokes, right? And then I was just experimenting this. And then you put it into one of these apps, and then you can get something as fancy as this, right? So you might wondering what is in the side. These are math equations. So art can come from anywhere. You know, this alpha, beta, this x is equal to y squared. So when you create art, just add anything to it, and it becomes art, right? So an example of this would be a painting I created, which was with, so this painting over here, this I created in Procreate, but I was not really happy with the impression which I want from this painting. It should show aggression, right? I could not get that from this. And then I said, what should I do? So I said, let me try some photo apps. So I used some photo apps, and then I got some effect, which is like this. Right? So that gives you, okay, this is what I want from this painting, right? So it's like these guys. So I'll just talk about some of the apps which are nice photo filters. One of them is called, let me show you, one of them is called, actually we're running out of time, but let's see here. One is from Google, it's called Snapseed. Snapseed was a company acquired by Google recently. It's a very awesome app. It can give you various effects. One is called I can't even spell it. Pixelomatic. And then there's one app called Photo Studio HD, which is this one over here. So if you open those apps, you can load any photograph. Say, okay, you know, this, for example, this one, right? Choose this photograph. And you can add effects to the picture, whatever. So you need to be the judge what looks best for your photograph, okay? So this is where I'm researching more and more. Every app has their own, you know, strong point. So this is what is called next app, next level in the art. Okay. So with that, let's look into. Okay. First of all, am I too fast?
No.
Everyone is with me?
Yes.
Okay. Please feel free to ask any questions. Okay. I don't want anyone to left out. Question.
Are you happy with the representation once you print this or put it on some type of paper media?
Very good question. That brings me to something I was about to forget to tell you, is the resolution. The resolution of the artwork created on iPad is not that great, okay? So you can't print anything bigger than A4 size. So what to do, right? There is an app called Ink. It's called Sketchbook Ink, which is this app here, okay? This app is very simple. It's a very simple app. Doesn't gives you many features like other apps. But one of the reasons I really love this app is it has the capability to bump up the resolution of any image. Yes, up to 100 gigabytes. So for example, let's take an example of you know, something like, for example, this is an image, right? And I say, you know, I want to export this image to my photo library, and this is the resolution. You see over there, that's the resolution. Now I can click on custom, and I say, you know, I want it, instead of 0.8, I want it to be like a 10 megapixel or 11 megapixel photograph, right? Here you can see this is now 11.9 megapixel photograph, and I can export it. Now when I print it, I have no issues. So if you go to Costco or Walgreens or wherever you want to print it, you will need to have at least something bigger than 5 MB.
And that looks good?
That looks good. Because the algorithm which is built in this app is really awesome. I mean, you can read about it. I mean, I don't want to get into the details, but you don't lose the details in your art. Sketchbook Ink. Okay?
Can you import a photo into that and bump it up too?
Yes, that's what I do. So you import your artwork into this app as a background, and then export it with a high resolution image. Okay? Okay, now let's talk about, we have maybe 5 minutes more. So iPad is for creative people who think they're creative. Everyone. That's perfect. So you can do several things. Like what I want to do with iPad is I take some photographs and create some fun stuff out of this. This photograph is me and my wife, and I wanted to give her like an anniversary postcard. So what I did is I took this photograph, and this is from a camping trip we had. So I took this photograph and cut out the background, and now we're standing in the middle of water, trying to balance life. Okay? So what we're trying to balance here is respect, love, work, life, dishes. And Kush is my son. And what you want to throw is ego, anger, argument, right? So this is a very simple example, but what you do is, I took out the image and then added a background of water and made those wrinkles as if it's water, right? And then you just type some text, right? So with that, I'll show you another amazing stuff you can do with iPad is animations, right? So there's several apps which can allow you to do animation. So let me show you something fun. Where is YouTube here? So there are two sisters, they're twin sisters, and they were born together, and one is my wife, and one moved to US and one was left in India, but they used to do everything together. And then the other one also moved to US, and then that's how their story was. And so I created a birthday card for them, and here it is. So I'll just show you, you can play this back here. Let's see. And everything is done on iPad. So the potential of iPad is amazing. I mean, it's not just artwork. You can create anything fun. If you're creative, it gives you the medium to create artwork. So what I do is, so I have a 3-year-old son. I try to do some fun animation with him. So I realized that maybe it can land up into some nice learning. So recently I put together a slide for the animation which I did for him, or with him actually. So explaining how the solar system works and gear system. So let's look into this. All of this is done on iPad. Okay. iPad2art.com is my next project, where I'm trying to take iPad as a medium for masses to create artwork and to be creative. With that, I conclude my presentation here.
Thank you.
Could you recommend a few good animation apps?
Yes, one which I really love is called doink.
Please.
D-O-I-N-K.
Ink.
Yep. The other app is called Animation HD.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I have a website, sumitstudio.com, which is my personal artwork website. And you can go to ipad2art.com if you want to learn more. I have my cards here, and there's a sign-up sheet. Question.
What app did you use for the animation?
It's called. So one of the app which allows you to use your artwork is doink.
Okay.
But it does not allow you to use your own image.
Oh, it doesn't.
So you have to create your. But I think I'm talking to the developers. They're saying they, in the next level, probably they will have image exportation. But other apps like Animation HD allow you to have photographs. That's how I got these two ladies over there. Any more questions? Does this make sense?
Yes.
Yes, perfect sense.
Yeah. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, guys. And